Sure. Yo, man, that Nico Rosberg, he's practicing his jumps for the podium, eh? Like, holy crap! How high did he go this time around?
Is he?
The Olympics just passed though.
Yeah. No, I think he's. Yeah, he won't make it. He won't make it.
But
He's
look,
gonna be jumping over the moon if he wins the championship.
Oh yeah, he'll lose his mind. I would love to see it if like he ends up winning, which is pretty likely. But then
At this point, yeah.
It's pretty likely that he's gonna win. But it would be very, very funny if like he just sort of his life took a tailspin and he just like went into like crack cocaine or something ridiculous to make a great story.
Just spirals down into addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Ruins his whole life. His family leaves him.
Opening right up, yeah. With that kind of, this is the kind of content that you can expect now on the reg from Flat Out Fever.
Forgets all his languages.
Sorry about that, guys.
Forgets all those languages.
Yeah.
Too sick to drive.
Episode 82.
Yeah, that's right.
And with something that our listeners and viewers will probably quite appreciate. We got new mics.
Oh, that's right.
We got new mics.
We got new microphones.
We got new mics.
Microphones.
We got new mics, everybody. Hopefully they sound better. Please tell us if they don't.
Yeah, there might be some volume issues, guys, but let me know if anything is bothering you.
We got new mics. They look badass.
Yeah, they are professional studio microphones.
Sound fantastic.
And worth every penny, because this is worth every
it's for you guys, really. It's for
Yeah.
you. If you're listening or watching right now, we're doing this for you. And if our silky smooth chocolate for your ears voices is getting to your ears in a better way now, is because of the new mics, and it's because of you guys, because of your continued support.
If it wasn't for these microphones, we would just be yelling at each other about Formula One,
probably,
and hoping that people were standing at a reasonable distance to hear it.
We just sounded like we did last week.
Yeah.
All the other weeks up until last week.
But now moving right.
Oh, we started off with this on cell phones. So.
Yes,
cell phone microphones.
That's true.
Ooh, fun times.
Those were
those were the days.
Those were the days
back in our youth.
Yeah. So enough about that.
Let's talk about the race.
Let's talk about that. What a good race.
Yeah.
What a good race. And it's funny too, because I guess I never realized, but for the past few years, it's landed basically in the same weekend as Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right. So it's never a Grand Prix that like it's always been like hard to even stage to like watch together for a while. Like you always have like all kinds of other commitments and stuff, like stuff pops up. But I want to just give a huge shout out to the people that showed up this weekend, on Sunday, to Betty's, to watch the race with us.
Yeah.
A few new faces, a few of the old faces.
Shout out to my uncle for hosting my family's Thanksgiving on Saturday this year. It was perfect. Delicious meal.
Yeah. So I know that a bunch of you that had wanted to check it out didn't, because you had family commitments. Mm-hmm. But we were there, and there was a good turnout, good race. Yeah. Again, I can't say.
I don't know how I felt about it. I watched it on Sunday night, and I'm not sure how I felt about it, actually. Like I thought it was pretty straightforward. Like, besides like the faulty start from Hamilton in the beginning,
that threw it.
Like everything else was just kind of going through the motions. You know what I mean? Like, did you guys feel like that at all? I that's how I felt, but I also wasn't watching it with you guys, and you guys always seem to pump me up about every fucking race there is.
I think saying this earlier in the year too, I think we're just kind of spoiled this year because it's been so amazing. Like something crazy is being happened. Like last race, 6 cars didn't finish because their tires flew off, their brakes exploded, and cars were burning on fire, and all kinds of crazy shit happened last weekend. Yeah, this was just a straightforward race. Like,
Yeah.
it was ran how it should be. Everyone finished.
As a race,
No
it
crashes,
was
no incidents.
yeah, it was great to see good action. I like to see a couple of the battles that were happening were pretty good, and to see some of the strategy, like whatever Ferrari was trying to do, and then like when they were trying to like kind of undercut each other like back and forth. Ferrari like with actually like a bit of a comeback, you know.
Yeah.
They were up there fighting. This is a track that in the past has been somewhat favorable to Red Bull sometimes.
One of those
the sweeping
higher
corners.
downforce, go really fast ones.
Yeah, I guess it also still needs like some horsepower. So it's not that it's like completely depending on downforce. So I guess that shows that I don't know. It's Ferrari is in such a weird situation right now.
Red
I
Bull
don't
was
know what to
saying
say.
after. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Red Bull was saying after the race that Danny Rick had problems because I guess he had too much downforce. His car was rubbing on the ground too much.
Right. Yeah.
I remember
didn't-
seeing it a few times though. It was just like fireworks going. Like someone set off some sparklers under the car.
We were commenting it like when we were watching the race even.
Yeah, it was. Well, apparently it affected it. It was too much. Like the little too much rake there.
The Dutchman again on the podium against all odds.
Yeah, amazing.
Great. Yeah.
Look at the results right here.
Splitting the Mercedes.
Split to Mercedes.
I
I think Red Bull's been on the podium like 5 or 6 weeks in a row now, haven't they?
Yeah, pretty
Almost 5 or something like that.
I do. I felt so bad for Lewis Hamilton. I mean,
much. Wow.
like, I obviously like it's. I'm not sure if it's like
in what way though? So there's
okay. I'm not sure if it's cool to not like Lewis Hamilton at the moment, just because he's won so many years in a row already. But that start was just such a limp dick. Like he was just like, yeah, I'm ready, I'm fired up, and then
it was just
you have to pull the clutch 2 times.
and remember when he like they showed him when they opened the pit lane, he like practiced his start a couple times, and like he really like he wanted to make sure that he got it, but there's something about it.
I think the Sky guys were talking about that, right? The Sky boys.
Oh, of course, the Sky was it's the Hamilton channel. It's the subtitle. Sky F1, the Hamilton network.
All your Hamilton all the time. My God, I
don't have a Sky Q box or whatever. Like I don't know what the channel numbers are in Britain, but it's probably 44, right? I'm not sure. Anyone British? Is it channel 44? Sky F1 channel 44, right?
If it's not, it should be. No, but it's seriously they got out of hand almost like and it's not just the Sky Boys, it's the British media, and I think that it's weird because in F1 right now we're cornered into a situation where because they have the best sort of coverage, we pretty much like we tend to gravitate. Fans tend to gravitate towards the British.
The best English speaking coverage.
The best English speaking coverage is courtesy of Sky in the UK. So we normally watch the Sky broadcast and whatever.
Yeah.
And that is actually what our local broadcaster here repeats, the same way that in Australia they repeat the British. So and the British media in general. So they have like good dedicated F1 reporters. Like in their major newspapers, whereas here, like, there's nobody from the Globe and Mail, going that.
No one gives a shit.
Yeah, not enough anyway to like put a team in. But the British people, like, they do have. So we're cornered into a situation as an F1 fan of that speaks English into looking up for like the best kind of coverage and best kind of news to come from the British media, but they sometimes just can't help but be horribly biased, like to a point that it's painful.
Ted actually asked Nico, like on the pre-race interviews, or the pre-weekend interviews. Sorry, he actually asked Nico, "Are you thinking about, or are you worried, something like that, about if you actually win this championship, that people are gonna say it was just down to Lewis's bad luck that you won this?" And
oh my
Rosberg's
God.
like, Ted, I think you're going a little bit far with that question.
Yeah.
I can't believe he asked him
because
that,
like
actually.
there's nothing. Okay, you can't say that Nico Rosberg is a bad driver because he's raced phenomenally.
Yeah,
Since
he was
he's
like
been
6 or
so
7
on
years
point
old.
this season.
Listen,
Yeah.
and I just want to put it out there that like we've talked about this amongst ourselves before, on and off.
Slightly more slanderous off air.
Of air, and it's not that we are like pro Nico Rosberg in the common sense. We're not Nico Rosberg fans here, but it is like I think that we all can agree now that 9 victories, and like yes, some of them he probably did get lucky, but he's had more than enough that it's not just been like down to pure luck.
Yeah, he's showed his skill a bunch of times. He's got a couple of poles this year. He's been doing well.
Now we're talking about him and whatever the media is saying on the book there. I just highlighted like the Rosberg not having it, and I just noticed this, and it's almost like as I was hearing what was being asked, I almost couldn't believe it, and I was doing the dishes because this is what I do. Like when I watch these like post whatever quality conferences, the press conferences, I just like leave it in the background and I start doing something else. And so they asked, so this is what the one that happened after qualifying. So Nico Rosberg like got that qualifying,
got the pole.
He got the pole, and Lewis tried to
bee's dick.
But still, Lewis tried to beat him, and he couldn't. Like it's not that it was like a pole that he set in response to something that Lewis did. No, Nico set the pole. Lewis tried to beat it, and he could not. Right? Even if it was by 83 centimeters, and they kept harping on and on about that. The British media, anyway, whatever, however long it was. But this was the post-quality press conference, and the format is usually, and I think it's James Allen that's doing these, that's actually asking the questions. But the format is they ask something. The first question goes to the driver that got on pole, then the second question goes to the second guy. In this case, would be first Nico, then to Lewis. So Nico Rosberg got like a standard question, like, by this much, but you clinched it, and good job, da 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 da. And Nico answered like you would expect somebody to be like, oh yeah, I'm very pleased, da 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 da. And then right after, so he follows this question with this gem, and I'm gonna read this to you from their the transcript. Okay, so. And Lewis, it's not the end of the world from your point of view, because as we look back over the last couple of seasons, you've won here from second place on the grid. So is that very much what's on your mind as you sit here this afternoon? And look at Rosberg's face as he's saying that. Like Rosberg is like, you mother, like what do you like?
Wait, Hamilton said that?
No. The reporter.
He asked him.
The guy that's supposed to be the FOM appointed impartial reporter is basically telling Lewis like, oh, never mind that he got on pole. Lewis, you've won here from second place. You've won. Like Nico Rosberg is like trying to like go to the other screenshot, and like you'll see like he's just like
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Who are these people?
Oh man,
I know, right?
God damn.
It's the other day, last week we had the pleasure of meeting and shout out to with Tim Horaney. Remember when we went with Tim Horaney? And we were, amongst other things, we were talking about drivers and like some of their like reactions to the press, and I think at one point we got into the topic of Nico Rosberg, and like I think I was saying something like, but sometimes like just like the way that he like treats the press, like he doesn't come across as like a very likable guy, and then but Tim O'Reilly, he's like from inside almost. He tells us, he turns around and tells us
this is why.
Yeah, he's like, but look at who's asking the questions.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like, he's like, look at who's asking the questions. And especially if they're wording it like this, they're basically like telling him to his face, to Nico's face, it doesn't matter that you got first. This is still the Lewis Hamilton show. Like, right?
Well, Hamilton got a whole bunch of shit because he walked out of one of these this weekend.
That was after. This was actually this happened after. So in between the driver's press conference and this, because he got pissed off.
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, like, this is.
No. Lewis got pissed off because they were getting.
He got up and walked out of the conference during it. Yeah.
Okay,
but like they make it about his clownery. Like, Lewis shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't be having parties between races. He shouldn't be hanging out with Rihanna. He shouldn't be wearing cowboy hats on the cover of magazines. He shouldn't be recording music. Like, they print all these articles like every week, right? Like, all this bullshit. And he gets in all these tabloids, whatever.
Check out this link.
Ask him these stupid questions in the F1 conferences.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Japan brand.
You can't fully blame him for doing that.
Go down. You just down. Like,
sorry, my computer's taking a big old dump.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, during the Thursday conference, he had his phone out.
Up.
And he got a bunch of shit for this too. He was on Snapchat taking pictures of rabbit face and deer face of the other drivers.
Okay, so he
basically ignoring the press while they're doing their job. Basically, their job is to talk to these guys, and the driver's job is to promote F1, like his gas company and whatever. All his sponsors that he's got stuck all over his chest and his shirt, right?
But listen, okay, look at here on this picture. So here's what happened, Mike. I
didn't check it out.
You didn't go out of your way to like watch this, and not every F1 fan out there does. But
the journalists were pissed at him for this.
No, anyway, here's what happened. Like the basically the play-by-play was they were in the middle of the Thursday drivers press conference. So this happens every week, and they select like a random number of drivers to go on like talk about like whatever the upcoming track or whatever it is. Now this is a format, and like we've talked about this before, man. How it is just kind of boring, and like we've said this before. They should do this somewhere else. They should make this more approachable by common people, and that is like overall like the same understanding that like it needs to be more interactive. It needs to have more input from real fans. Yeah. Right?
I got into an argument with a guy on Reddit about this in the past week.
That doesn't surprise me.
But anyway, so imagine this like at the Canada track in the first corner there in the bowl with all having the press conference there. You set up a table in the corner.
In Canada, you could do it. Why wouldn't you even do it like at a mall or something? If you're close to a big enough city.
In Mexico, at the circuit, hold it in the stadium section. On a bunch of other tracks, hold it on the main straight. A bunch of tracks don't have malls around them, but hold it there. So, have the people come out.
So yeah, they've already
vet them for questions, like you were saying before. Let the fans ask the questions.
So they've already talked about this, right? Like this is something that and Kevin from the live chat right now rightly points it out. Yes,
broadcast it live for free on YouTube so people can watch.
Whatever. There's many improvements that need to happen to these press conferences because it is true they are dull, and like you can see that some of the drivers like they're just sitting there and like answering like zombies. Some like pre-written shit and what's not pre-written, or that they're just like, oh, I get this question.
You're gonna get a stock answer for a stock question,
and some of no disrespect, actually, maybe a little disrespect, but honestly, like just look at yourself. The people of the press out there, they're asking some of these questions, and I'm looking at like sometimes I get frustrated at some of the questions that these people ask over in the press conference. They're like, a lot of times they're hardly relevant, or they're questions meant to like poke at the driver to kind of like incite some kind of a reaction, or to ask about some kind of controversial topic that their involvement wouldn't really matter, like about when they start asking drivers about like pure F1 politic issues, like they don't give a fuck most of the time, and they don't have any power to change that kind of stuff.
These press conference sort of environments, as it were, is like the product of sort of like the weird hierarchy that exists within Formula One, right?
Exactly.
And even like within the media themselves.
Yeah. And if you start like digging too deep, they're like, you're not coming back next time. You know, like, and sort of this is what like my inner conspiracy theories is starting to show.
But here's the other thing though. So, and then as they were asking,
you got to play
questions,
ball. That's what I'm saying.
Well, right, but as they were asking these questions, right? Like, so Lewis Hamilton was one of the drivers there in the Thursday press conference, and they were just asking their normal questions to like different drivers, and Lewis started like playing around in Snapchat, took a couple pictures with like the Snapchat filter.
I think this is great.
Right, yeah.
I think this is
hilarious, and you know, people that are familiar with Snapchat or have seen Snapchat working or like know somebody that uses Snapchat compulsively, and there's a lot of them out there, will know what this is all about and would have a laugh, right? But this is something very popular right now. If you don't know this, like, you know, kids are on Snapchat right now, and Lewis Hamilton has a ton of followers, and
who are children,
and he's given them sort of a glimpse into his life, right? And into like, you know, that he can be goofy and that like drivers like, you know, do this or whatever, like whatever, right? There's banter and like, it was something innocent, honestly, and I think that that's what he thought. Yeah, for sure. There's no way that he would.
Absolutely.
In his mind, he wasn't thinking like, I'm just gonna like fuck with these people. I don't care about their profession. I don't care. I don't care. Like, but that's the way that they tried to spin it. When Lewis was doing this, a reporter like called him out by like, so instead of like just being a man, and like being like, yo, Lewis, like, you know, why get off your phone? Like, you know, instead of like saying what he actually meant. He addressed it like, so he would have put his hand up and like waited in line until somebody gave him like the right to ask a question, and was like, question is for Lewis, what are you doing there on your phone? Is there anything you want to share? Like an asshole. Yeah. Like he asked that question like an asshole. Like, why would you why wouldn't you just be like, there were a million ways that he could have addressed that.
I kind of agree with him. Lewis is being disrespectful is in the press conference.
Yeah, well, okay.
I don't think so. No.
The
whole thing is a circus show.
Disrespectful to whom?
Yeah.
To the press, who are there to
do what? Tell me exactly.
Promote Formula One and promote Lewis.
This is not promotion.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, okay, fine.
What are they writing articles for?
No, but that's
it's not for
this
fun.
They're thinking, okay, these people are only there and they exist and they have this job because at one point or another there was a need for this. But what's happening right now, man? You gotta
let Lewis talk to an empty room and play with Snapchat.
No.
That's the press conference now.
No, absolutely not.
What?
Just have no press. Just have the guys sit there, and Lewis will take Snapchats of them. That's the press conference.
No,
this is hold on a second. 1 second. This is a reflection of how actually boring.
Yes,
I agree with that.
And ridiculous it is. If anything, it is like the slightest of a protest to be like, this isn't working.
Yes, exactly.
I guarantee you will not see him do this again. He got shit for this.
He did get shit for this. But that doesn't mean they're right.
Or else he's not going to... He just won't be invited to any more press conferences.
Danny,
he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't
give a shit. He'd
rather not do that.
I don't think any of the drivers actually enjoy this.
Yeah.
This is not for the fans.
No, but look, Danny, the problem is
what would we be talking about if there was no press conference?
Of whatever else he would have done. But listen, the point is that the format for this and as many other things that are in Formula One, it needs to be improved. It needs to be reworked, right? So that
Liberty already said they're going to change the press conferences.
So, but here's what people don't like.
Whether or not they're going to.
Here's what these journalists aren't understanding is that they think, and in their minds, they are owed an answer and they're owed this respect from Lewis. Whereas what's actually happening in the real world right now is that fans don't have to go through intermediaries like the news to get straight feedback from their sports. That's what was happening here. So the fact that this was even happening and that maybe more fans, and I can tell you right now that this, like in terms of views, this Snapchat, as Lewis was posting, it got probably more views than
the entire press conference.
That press conference did, right?
So that's because these guys are idiots. FOM are idiots and think that this is like gold, and nobody should see this unless. But there's no way to actually see it.
That's the bullshit. But
it should be free.
Right? And it's gonna come to a point, and this is what happens. So these people, and this is what I've been saying, man. These people are just way more concerned. They're all up in arms on whatever because they know what the logical progression is gonna be. They know that once like more people start like getting hooked onto getting like direct, like some of what they want, like direct feedback from the drivers and from their sports personalities themselves, a lot of their jobs are gonna be redundant.
I'm confident.
Some of them won't though. Some of them won't. There's still gonna be room for like true hardcore investigative journals out there, like Sayward, like that kid from the Telegraph. People that are actually making like stories, not just reporting what was said at the press conference.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I think what's happening here is, it's not slanderous. It's just actual honesty of what is the reality of the Formula One climate, the media climate,
and a reflection too on the potential new fans.
Yeah,
this is something that obviously fans ate it up.
Yeah,
and now what? So look at this stupid dichotomy that's going on here. This is something that the fans want.
Yeah,
and the reporters that apparently they're supposed to be. One of them was like, "Oh, Lewis is being disrespectful to the Japanese fans." You don't know that.
Yeah.
You think that's because you think that there has to be that cog in the machine, the central cog, to like, be the information aggregator, which is then the journalist, and spits it onto a story that gets printed, because that's the only way that you can see that the world works. Now you can't have even room for something like this.
Yeah,
go eat a dick. Come on, that's.
Well, I mean, how many of these conferences happen within a weekend? Right, we have.
I think there's
3.
There's like 2 of these bigger ones, and then like 3 mini ones.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There's like after like the practices, and then after qualifying.
Post-quali. They do the pre-weekend on Thursday, and then Friday they have the team principals. Mm-hmm. Then they do the post-quali, which is they're usually like 4 or 5 minutes, and then the post race too is usually 4 or 5 minutes.
Basically, if you're a driver and you're like lucky / some might consider unlucky
sometimes
enough,
if you crash,
you might get into 3 conferences a weekend. the Thursday one, if you get into top 3 in qualifying, and then top 3 after the race, you could have to sit
the Thursday ones go
these.
up to 40 minutes. Like sometimes they go quite long.
And that's what Lewis had to do, right? Like, so he probably knew that he was gonna have to do that, sit in 3 press conferences that weekend. Like,
yeah, but if you win, wouldn't you'd want to be there?
Of
You're
course.
like, I don't want to tell anybody about it. I just won the Grand Prix.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care if they know.
No, but that's
you want to go in the press conference.
Of course, you want to go in the press conference, but it like 100%. I agree that we wouldn't have even had this kind of conversation, and this problem wouldn't have even arisen if
Snapchat
the format
didn't exist.
Well, but if it wasn't Snapchat, it would just be something else now,
yeah.
right?
Instagram.
Yeah, it would be if the press conference format was a little different and maybe a little bit more inclusive of fan feedback, right?
Yeah, I'm confident Liberty know what they're doing, and next year we're gonna see open, live broadcasted, free conferences, hopefully with some fan input. But if not, at least have a camera on the guys asking the questions too. Like the press is important.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
This is the reason that they have a press conference. It's in the name. They're having the conference for the press. They never ever show the guys that like they should be. The press should be important as well, because the guys who ask, then you want to ask a better question too. Like if they're showing your face, it's kind of anonymous the way they do it now, which doesn't really make sense to me. Like there's room for the press to stand out as well and compete. From Martin Brundle's blog though that he does, he wrote one about this weekend. It was Lewis was in the title of it, something about blah 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 Lewis. But he's saying about these conferences though that he thinks that the press don't like to ask the heavy questions during these and get the good response, etc., because the bigger guys from the bigger magazines and the bigger websites and the bigger questions. News, they get exclusive time to sit down with the drivers a lot of the time, and they want to save those big questions for that, and
so they can have the exclusive.
And the smaller news guys, they might not get even asked into the conference, but so they don't get a chance to ask those questions. So yeah, those guys want the exclusive, because if you ask it here, then people find out right away.
Yeah.
Like the whole world knows.
Oh, it's not exclusive to your magazine anymore?
Yeah, every magazine
Oh my god.
gets that. Yeah, the headlines come from quotes from these guys' conferences. So again, for sure, Brundle's right there too.
Yeah.
Well,
that makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard too as part of it. That it's you don't talk about the big stories live on TV because especially the people that
You wouldn't want to embarrass one of the drivers.
Well, no, especially if you work for print, because then
Yeah.
by the time it's written, by the time you actually put it in an article, it's already out there.
Yeah.
And Brundle in his position, I'm sure he knows a lot of these guys. He's saying that he thinks a lot of the media are scared right now because of this Snapchat type stuff and drivers taking more control of their own image,
And they should be.
rather than relying on the press because it's the press's job to promote these guys, promote the sport, promote the promoters of the advertisements and
Absolutely.
advertise the promotions, etc.
Why should they be scared? They're not scared about that. They're scared of losing their job or having to dial it down or having to start strapping their freaking
Opening Twitter account. A lot of them don't have Twitter and Instagram accounts. They're afraid of just embracing the modern times and Snapchatting
Embrace
and
it
Instagramming
or
and
get washed away.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting up YouTube clips and stuff. Like you can make a
Do you know-
make a little clip.
Do you know how much I would love it? Like if Sayward, I often go and read his blog, and he's a good, he's one of the good crazy journalists that gets really in deep with the stories.
He goes really deep.
Yeah, and
He likes details.
Yeah, especially when it comes to
He writes some long
financial
blogs.
stuff.
But they're good. They're good.
Yeah, he gets into
Recommended.
the whole whenever there's shady shit going on, he likes to point it out. And it's cool, right? But his main avenue right now, is his blog is sort of just to promote the main thing, which is this e-magazine that he works at, right? But wouldn't it be a lot better if it was out in the open, that he made that a public thing where he could make money on it off of ads or whatever, and then that opens the possibility to all kinds of other shit, so get these journalists, especially the good ones, and obviously the good ones will come out to build a name of their own as well, build a reputation, and then soon after why not have a Joe Sayward documentary where he goes and exposes some sort of conspiracy or something, you know what I mean, or goes back through the history of this particular F1, the same way that Niall Ferguson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he could produce, I'm sure, a mini series of F1 conspiracies of the past.
And things that blew up.
For sure, he's got a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, and people would
F1
love
knowledge.
to see that if only these old school journalists would give themselves the chance to embrace the new technologies.
Yeah.
They could really capitalize and come up with some great content that everybody would love and people would pay money for, instead of trying to fight it, going freaking upstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the term.
Yeah. Seriously, they're fighting the current of where everything is moving right now by having these backwards attitudes. And as much as they try to mask it as something else, the respect for the Japanese audience, we can see through it. We know what you mean. You mean, some of this might mean that I will lose my job. I don't want to lose my job. Yeah, okay.
No one
does. It's all cool, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
The other,
Sorry, it was just a small point and more of a reflection on our generation and people who were born after us grew up with the idea that the internet is this new thing. I grew up building websites on GeoCities.
Yeah,
and,
I remember GeoCities. Holy
crazy
crap.
shit like
Yeah.
that. But with that, you saw and you learned throughout the years of how the internet changed and you saw a lie on the internet. You not just someone typed a lie, but a picture that wasn't quite right, or you know that's not right. You know that's photoshopped. And that mentality, it's you can't teach that to someone. It's based on experience, right? So I know when you visit a website, you, Danny, Javier, I know when you see it, you know where not to click.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for something scrupulous, right? You're looking for something juicy. You just know, like, no. Oh, there it is. Here we go.
Yeah.
But like
streaming services,
you can't
pop-ups.
teach that to people. You can't teach
there's
that to older
element.
generations, right? You learn it through experience. Yeah. And like I had this experience when I went home for the weekend.
You have to be open to it as well.
I was telling my mom and her boyfriend about this very example. It's just like, you guys just didn't grow up with it. Like we were teaching you about the internet when we were learning about it. You know what I mean? So like we see through all the deception, and like it, unless they really try to adapt, like these people in the media being like, oh no, yeah, we'll figure it out. Unless they can give an honest and earnest attempt at it, I don't think it's gonna help. They're gonna either have to move on to something else or really try hard to adapt.
Oh, absolutely. And some of them, the thing is that for some of them to adapt, it means accepting out loud and very publicly that they were wrong at one point. And a lot of people have a lot of problem with that. I never understand that.
Accepting that you were wrong at some point?
Yeah. Accepting that you might have said something that you probably didn't know the shit what you were talking about. Yeah.
That's why Lewis walked out, because he said the media was disrespectful of him.
Well, because after that, you know what they were calling him? You know what they were calling him? Well, this one guy from a certain publication call him Snap Brat.
That's kind of clever.
He's just a snap brat. He thinks that he's entitled. Whereas like, it's so funny too, because these people often like accuse like millennials and everybody else of doing the same thing that they're doing.
Yeah, so that's what these guys don't want to do, is start Snapchatting, or because they have to admit that I should have been doing this already. Like then you get too far behind, you get further behind.
Other people are just gonna come and like would have already like swept in on that.
It's been like, do you realize Twitter's been around almost a decade already? It's like 7 or 8 years. It's been around a long time. When it first started though, like the first year I was like, no, this is so dumb. I'm never doing this. And then after I had to admit to myself, like, oh, I was wrong.
It is actually
Twitter's actually pretty
brilliant.
cool. Yeah,
for what it is.
For what it is.
For what it's for, moving small amounts of information from a certain location everywhere instantly, and anyone can find it. That's what it's for. It's so good at that.
I was in the same boat as you for the longest time. It was just like
me too.
Just not. It seems so like self-interested and almost egotistical, and I didn't like it for those aspects, not because of because the true thing about it is what Danny just said. It's like it's about moving information, small amounts of information to everyone in the world, and then once you sort of understand and respect that, you're like, whoa.
Well, it works really well for certain things, like following
absolutely.
sports right now. Like if you're in any kind of sports, like tons of Twitter content. And there's other social media that are better for other kind of stuff. Like if you're into celebrity gossip, like you'd go on Snapchat and Instagram and stuff like that, right? So it's just filling these niches that used to be occupied by traditional media or no media at all, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what's shocking and really like getting on some people's nerves that are part of the traditional media. And I just wish that it wasn't so, because if only they realized that it's a lot easier to just embrace it all and go with it and like really push for change, and that everybody could potentially stands to gain out of it, then but anyway,
what is this, Sky F1 or Flat Out Fever?
Yeah, right.
This is the Lewis. we became the Lewis show. Damn it, Sky! It's contagious.
It is.
We got the Sky Fever. Jesus, Gutierrez has now done 40 races with no points.
Oof.
That's gotta be like one of those like longest stints since.
That's close. I didn't have a chance to see how many people have done that. He's got the most on the grid right now, anyways.
The most 0 points.
The longest stint without a point.
Yeah, without a point. 40 races. Yeah, his whole career, his entire career, he's not got a point.
Wait, sorry. Gutierrez is with who?
Haas.
Yeah.
You
don't see him on TV very often. He's been
not
on
these
TV
days anyway.
only the last couple races he's been shown on interview clips and stuff because other people were pissed at him for ignoring blue flags or for like holding up the race for a lap or two for not letting people pass when he was getting blue flagged. Yeah. That's the only reason he's been on TV this year, at all.
Well, he wasn't very spectacular in Japan just now.
No, he's not being spectacular ever.
I don't understand. I mean, I guess he gets money from.
He's got some spectacular eyebrows.
Yeah.
Even bigger than my own. They're huge.
But he's got the money from Carlos Slim, right?
Bert from the Sesame Street. Yeah, he's got Carlos Slim money, same as Perez.
Yeah, but that's all he's got going for him here.
Perez has got some mad skills though. He's been showing off his driving. He's got a few points, right?
Yeah,
he's got a couple points. I don't know how he's doing it.
So he's one person that may or may not come back to F1 next year, right?
Yeah.
Probably not. I think I don't know. I'm not afraid to say that that F1 could probably be better off without him.
Perhaps
in lieu of
Haas haven't announced anything about their driver lineup.
No,
for next year.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they're still
and with
keeping their lips sealed.
So they could have somebody else in that car, but what's really been the story this week about driver movings and whatever continuing the silly season is what's gonna happen with those two Renault seats, because they still haven't announced anything,
right?
And as well, we were also expecting an announcement to come from Williams about Lance Stroll,
which hasn't happened.
We have a potential few power seats really. Now people thought that Williams, that lone Williams seat that is most likely going to be given to Lance Stroll,
Massa's seat.
So yeah, Massa's seat was the one that held the key, but it is still probably going to be Lance Stroll. So if you still ignore that, the next one over, people were like, oh, Renault or whatever. But Renault right now, I guess it has come out that they have been talking about, or they have been talking to Nico Hülkenberg.
They were also talking definitely to Perez, because we showed you those pictures that were hidden sort of on the Perez website of him holding a Renault sign a while ago. Remember we said about his dad said that he was going to have a big announcement in Canada, back in Canada, months ago, many months ago. Actually, there was an announcement from Renault last week that K-Mag's option on his contract was pushed back 2 weeks. They formed an agreement. Remember that? So he's got another week on that now. That was a week ago. So they still got another week on that option.
And K-Mag's seat is also very interesting because that also holds a key to the movement.
He's got the Jack and Jones money.
Well, he's got some money from that. It's not Telcel money, but it's some money. And this is what people are saying now.
Personal backing from Jack and Jones.
Well, this is what people are saying now, which could be very interesting. If Nico Hülkenberg goes to Renault, then
he's gonna get the black tee.
Well, he probably, but then
K-Mag's gonna get demoted to the yellow tee.
Well, it's hard to think that K-Mag would stick around in that circumstance, especially when you might think that the French, the Renault, would want to have a French driver, or could be convinced of having a French driver in Esteban Ocon.
Perhaps.
So if we have a Hülkenberg-Ocon combination next year at Renault, which could very well happen, then where does K-Mag go? And the assumption is that K-Mag might actually take Hülkenberg's seat at Force India, which to me would make it a very strong team next year. If it's Perez, Magnussen, these are two guys that very talented.
You think K-Mag's more talented than Hülkenberg?
No, but I think that they'd be able to build the team more around it because his size is comparable.
Less. Oh yeah, Hülkenberg is very tall.
Yeah,
he's heavy for who
so
he is.
Just that reason alone, and you can't tell me that it's not because how much they pack these cars.
They probably have less problems with the two of them maybe competing as closely.
Yeah.
Well, K-Mag will be another year in his career. He should be getting close to his peak now.
He's proven that he can actually outperform a bad car with in this year. He can drive competently and
on top of all the silly seasonness, next year is so decisive too because of the G-force thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole new kind of driving for next year.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You're gonna need like drivers, or presumably you're gonna need drivers that are experienced, or that at least like have a handle on these things. So I think that somebody with not necessarily like it's not like he has shown explosive talent in the same way that Verstappen has, to some degree, but Magnussen has been a good, consistent driver that has enough of an experience. So he's whatever team he goes to right now. If Renault doesn't want him, he should be happy, more than happy to go to Force India, and I think that he'd do good things there. He'd probably keep Perez on his toes.
It'd be funny if the two of them just switch seats.
Yeah,
you just basically toss each other the keys as they walk past each other. They will need new uniforms because their sizes are very different.
Yeah,
I found this, or I didn't find it. So
I'll be back.
Sorry, I would give you credit, but I forgot to save it. But somebody on Reddit posted this. This is just a screenshot of a web page of autosport.com from August. The headline is, Nico Hülkenberg wants Sergio Perez to stay with Force India in F1. And now he's probably taking that Renault seat. And the picture, the subtitle, Nico Hülkenberg has urged Formula One teammate Sergio Perez to remain with Force India for next season. There's also been a bunch of news that Vijay Mallya might be very soon forced to just sell the team.
He can't just run it from wherever he is at the time.
In exile.
In exile.
He's hiding as a fugitive because India wants him extradited home to go to jail.
Right, yeah, because he lost a bunch of money, right? Or
yeah, he owes
a bunch of money,
a few $100 million in taxes to India. So he's hiding out in Britain right now. But I guess they refuse to actually put handcuffs on him, throw him in a plane, and send him home.
Oh my god. This fucking guy.
At least for now. But yeah, there's been talks and rumors that he might have to sell the team because he's in big financial trouble. He thinks it's worth $300 million.
His team?
I don't think. Yeah, Force India.
I mean, they've been doing
somehow
well,
I doubt
right?
that. They have been doing very well. It's like
what, they're in fourth in the constructors?
I think they're in third. Pull it up. But they smashed the Williams this weekend. You can go to right there, the team numbers. They were 11 behind. Now they might be.
Oh, they're in fourth.
Yeah, 10 point. They were 11 behind, I think, 2 races ago. Last time we were looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're 10 points ahead.
That's crazy, man.
Incroyable. Yeah, it's crazy. They're going to get that. The difference in prize money between those two positions is gigantic.
Is it?
Yeah, I believe well over $10 million. Closer to 20. From fourth to fifth?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much to look up right now. We'll look at this towards
all the other
before the last race, but we'll do
all the other commercial benefits that you get with it, right? Like the higher up the championship you finish, the more that you can demand things like airtime on TV. So therefore your sponsors get promoted more, so you get to charge for more money from your sponsors, etc., etc. Sorry, Mike. It all ripples down.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, and Red Bull in the last decade or whatever that they've been competing has established themselves they are the top of the heap. But so if you come in fourth,
an historic team.
Yeah, if you finish fourth place behind now Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, that's very good. Especially these are independent teams below.
Who are we talking about? Force India?
Yeah. Force India, Williams, just a fight for fourth and fifth.
What a crazy fight!
And just the moving of the drivers. Who
do you think is...
Quickly, one more fact. Let me throw this out there.
Do it.
Because I'll forget. The argument, if you saw this on Reddit, is contentious about this fact, but Bottas right now has 73 starts with Williams.
Oh, yeah. I heard about this.
Which is the most now next to Jim Clark for a career.
Ooh.
Well, in the same team.
But people are like, oh, you can't even count
in
that
the
yet.
same team.
In the same team. Yeah, sorry. The most starts driving for the same team in a career. But people are like, oh, you can't count that yet because he might end up driving for another team or whatever. But for now, he's got that record. He's driven more races. He'll still have, it'll be like a fresh record, I guess. He'll have driven the most races for one team.
Like
total, like I don't know.
For the whole
For his whole career.
He's been in F1 now for a for a few years, and he's only driven for Williams.
Yeah, so he's got the temporary title of the most races driven for one team in a career, until he switches or quits or whatever.
Or somebody's gonna have to like come and take that record from him. And jeez, man, he has. It's true. He has spent.
That's a long time.
Quite a long time
to start a career with a team, because he started his career with
Williams. Yeah,
a badass team, right?
Yeah.
Most people start at the bottom.
That's
you
true.
prove yourself, and then you get moved up. You get more sponsors, and
Right.
you get recognized. So I forgot actually one more for Massa.
Yeah.
His first reprimand of his career this weekend.
First ever.
There's a conspiracy to tarnish his image forever. Apparently that was he had some kind of, I don't know exactly what it was, but he had some kind of problem with the little TV screen on his steering wheel. Yeah, his LCD, his dashboard was fucked. And there's some old rule about going less than 45% of your timed lap during, I believe, any session. And he was doing that. He was going too slow, but his screen was broken.
Oh, so he didn't know.
Yes, he got complained against, reprimanded.
Oh my god!
But he got no penalty or anything like that. But anyways, his first reprimand of his career. Very clean, very clean. Never caused anyone to get knocked off or whatever. No cheating. There you go.
I guess I mean
16, 15 years. That's
he
pretty
did
good.
come this close to have a championship, so you don't just come this close to a championship for nothing.
Yeah, for sure. He's a badass too. He's gonna be one of those guys in the future. Like he almost died in the sport.
Yeah.
Took us, you know what I mean?
Oh, he's gonna make for great television. I think he's already
he's
you know
gonna
these,
have a documentary about him in 10 years.
You know these memes that he
Sometime.
keeps posting, like of like the similarities and whatever. I bet he's like just priming for like a career in the media. He knows that after F1, he's probably gonna go to global TV in Brazil and like do a bit of presenting. Why not join Rubinho, the Rubinho and Massa show?
Yeah, he is. Like, I don't know. I don't speak Portuguese, but he seems most of the time he's pretty jovial, pretty outgoing.
He's supposed to be one of the funniest guys out there.
Yeah. I'm sure in his own language he's even funnier. But yeah, he's always joking around in English. Well, like I don't know. I don't speak Brazilian, right?
Portuguese.
But Portuguese. Portuñol, isn't it Portuñol? Their dialect are slightly different.
No, that's what that's what they jokingly call like because you know how Brazil is in South America, but they're pretty much the only Portuguese speaking country.
Yeah.
So in the border
have, like,
people like when they like like at the borders
They
of
have,
like
like,
Argentina or
they have
whatever.
Spanish dialect.
Yeah, they're just kind of like there's ways that you can like kind of talk to somebody like I think it goes more like they can understand Spanish more than people that are native Spanish speakers can understand like the fast Portuguese.
Yeah.
But you can reach an understanding like if you speak really slow. It's kind of I guess I don't know if English has anything like that. I don't think it does. But it's got to be like if a
Newfoundlander or something like,
or like if
something on the edge of understand it for native speakers even.
Yeah. And like if a Newfoundlander like met like the whatever like Newfie equivalent of like Australia, you know, probably like people from Tasmania probably have to have some crazy accent. So if like a Newfie met a Tasmanian, they probably have to like arrive to like an in between language.
Down there by the bay, bud.
Or something, but
Newfoundlandian.
but yeah, that's what Portuñol is. It's not really like an actual dialect. It's just sort of
No, it's not a real language.
But okay, listen. I think that another one of the great stories to come out from the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, of course, was what Arrivabene said very publicly about his boy.
The walking, talking ad for Marlboro.
Yeah.
I was watching the race with Felicity, my girlfriend,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Watch this guy. He looks like what an ad for a cigarette company would look like."
Yeah.
And you just look at him, you just just looks like one.
Yeah,
he looks like a cigarette.
Yeah, he
That's
looks
what I'm saying on the weekend. He's got like those under his eyes. They just like get those like goopy eyes look like one of those like an old dog or something. Like he's got huge bags. Like you're saying, he probably hasn't slept for most of the time that he's worked for Ferrari.
No. He clocked in one morning to like when he like got his like little pin as team principal, and since then he literally has not slept.
His voice sounds. He just sounds like an old mafia boss. Like all he wants is another cigarette. And to win a race.
You know what? It was funny because like during the race, I was thinking like, do you think he goes out for cigarettes during the race?
Probably. Well, actually, not at the
during the race. I would say he probably smokes like 7 or 8 before during like the grid walk and whatever.
Or he takes like a little
patches
patch
or something.
He takes like a patch or something. Yeah, because like I would think like leaving the race or his little dock area. What is it called? Like the little
the pit wall.
The
it's
pit
like
wall.
the official.
It'd be too.
term, I
you would
believe.
lose too much information for the amount of time it takes to smoke a cigarette, right? Like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
but if he's hard about it, it's like a minute. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
We mentioned before, like Ferrari has a smoking pit that they bring. They have a tent.
It's more like a shack. But yeah,
It's like a little red tent where they're allowed to smoke cigarettes at every track.
Oh my god.
but
based on.
But they bring this piece of hardware around the
hardware.
world. Yeah, well, it's like they build
a Ferrari
freaking
tent.
Yeah, it's a little shed that they build, and it has like all the company branding, and it's there exclusively for their employees to sit out,
Smoke
have a
cigarettes.
smoke.
Odd thing. You guys ever been to an airport and ever go into the smoking section?
Yes.
No.
Have you ever been? It's
haven't gone in.
awful, man. It's like a small, contained room.
They don't have them
room.
anymore in many
No,
airports.
this must have been years ago.
Yeah.
But I think when I was flying to like China or like in between China and Japan, they had one of these rooms.
I bet they would.
And so like we went in there, and it's just like it's like a room like the size of like 3 of these rooms.
When I went to Cuba, I think
cigarettes.
8 or 9 or 10 years ago. I've been there a couple. But the first time I went there, you could still smoke in the airport.
Oh my god!
Just in the open, you could just get off the plane. You go down the ramp in the airport, and people were smoking inside. But I've been since, and they've stopped it. Like you can't. They sort of like
Yeah, that's
modern.
Yeah,
I was there like just at the end of that.
Yeah.
They moderned up a little.
Yeah.
You can't really just smoke anywhere anymore.
Ooh.
It's more like
Yeesh.
no more restaurants and stuff like that. Patios and stuff, they don't care. Like here in Toronto, you can't smoke in a patio. If there's
Anywhere.
other people
Yeah,
eating
no.
around
Yeah,
you and
no.
stuff, there's no
Can't-
more. You
can't-
can't
can't
smoke
at
there
all.
anymore, which is awesome. I love it.
Even if it has an open patio, like an open roof patio.
Unit Z says about Bene. He's like wireless headphones, and he goes out in the back. No doubt, though.
That would work.
Tell them to drive faster.
Dude, I could see
Tell
him
them,
like
tell them to
inhale a
keep
cigarette.
driving faster.
Okay, so do you hear what he said though?
No,
about Sebastian.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, did he talk shit?
Yeah, all the shit that was spoken. So what? He has been very, very, very distant, especially with the English media. And this, as we've discussed earlier today, is like honestly, like I don't blame him for that. Honestly. Oh shit. I don't blame him for that.
Right.
Because of what we've discussed. Basically to the British media, like this English speaking media, if you're not Lewis Hamilton or not like with the Lewis Hamilton plan, like they're gonna make some shit up. They're gonna ruin your day.
Yeah.
Right. And there is a problem, man, of some shit, and like there has to be. I've seen it happen, especially with F1. When it happens to with the Spanish media. There's got to be something with Mediterraneans and like trying to like twist words around, but so they
Yeah, okay.
the media in those countries, it's very, very tough, very sensational. It's very like half their news shows are celebrity gossip and that kind of shit, right? So when you have a sport like F1, where if you're not a native English speaker, if you're not from a native English speaking country, your team or yourself, you're gonna have to like basically answer the exact same questions twice.
Right.
Once in your language, and then another time in English. Because you get asked the same questions over and over and over and over again, like 10 times, right? And sometimes depends on whether you're asked in English or Spanish, for example, like it used to happen with Alonso, or Italian and English, like it happens, I'm surely with Arriva Bene. Journalists then come and pick and choose what they want. Like if they want to make a story out of nothing, it's very easy to just see like the two different answers and then make a story of that, because there could be one word that you used incorrectly when answering a question in the language that's not your native language, that then gets like translated back to the Italian, and then like so let's say Arriva Bene said something to the English media that could have been translated back to Italian in a different way than how he meant. They're gonna exploit that.
Oh,
they're gonna
absolutely.
I
mean, who wouldn't?
Right? Like so at one point the pressure of like having to do that and like having to like correct the record.
Yeah.
See what I did there? With
this is why we can't take you out.
With that, must have gotten to him. I know that like it definitely got to Alonso at one point, like especially when he was in Ferrari, because I guess he would have had to like answer questions in Italian, Spanish, and English. So some people just looking to make stories out of nowhere would like compare, you know what I mean? It would go like on an extreme. And so in order to avoid some of that, he knows he has a media, and he knows that Ferrari has a media commitment. But so he said, you know what? Fuck it. No more English media. I only speak to the Italian media now. So he was already reserved with the media, and he's been quoted as saying things before like, you know what, just let us work in peace. We don't need you people like snooping all the time, you know, like
get away.
Yeah. And now he comes up with this, and this is something that apparently he initiated. He apparently saw the Sky Italy people doing like some sort of a segment where they were gonna interview people and whatever, and he came up to them and was like, you know what, like I'm available. You want to talk to me? You want to ask me some questions? You want to have me on live television? And, live Italian to the whole country. And so he went on, and they were asking him about Sebastian Vettel's behavior, and he was saying he said basically this: listen, Sebastian needs to understand that what worked for Michael does not work for him. This meaning Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
And this is a big step, because Sebastian Vettel, he saw his arrival. He was so happy when he moved to Ferrari, because he was realizing his childhood dream to move to Ferrari, where his idol Michael Schumacher when Michael Schumacher moved to Ferrari, a bunch of things were happening. The Ferrari team were basically in a position where they were looking to get out of like a swamp of like losing, not really achieving, like not being competitive. And when they brought Schumacher, apparently, at least, I mean, nobody can say this for sure, but apparently Schumacher said, okay, you're not only bringing me, but with me, I'm bringing this person, this engineer, other person, Ross Brawn, which was instrumental, and whatever. Like, so he brought like a battery of engineers and like technical people as well to Ferrari, that it ended up in him winning 5 constructor championships. Right. So that cannot be denied. But now it is a different world. It is a very different world, and I think that Arriva Bene is not an idiot. I think that he wouldn't have gotten to where he got. Let's not forget where he came from. Before he got to Ferrari, he was the Philip Morris guy in Europe. Basically, the commercials. So he was a commercial VP for Europe or something like that. Yeah. The Philip Morris cigarette company, very, very tough, very competitive business. He wouldn't have gotten to the position that he was at by not knowing anything about anything, or not being like a good enough leader. He would have had to have been, right? So he knows something about it. And if he's going to the lengths now of like publicly now having to stop Sebastian Vettel, is because we probably don't know what Vettel was doing behind closed doors, and what kind of problem or whatever, at least something that he saw as a problem, he was trying to incite in Maranello. And from what we know about Sebastian Vettel is that he probably would have at least tried to mess around with the way the team was being conducted, and something about that did not work, and has it's not working anymore, and it's reflecting two ways: outward publicly by Arriva Bene, like, you know, publicly saying these things, and those are probably also words that were incited from like up above, right? Like from Marchione. He's probably like, yo, you gotta publicly put this kid in his place. And two, with Vettel himself and his own driving, and he did get the furthest up and whatever, finished higher than Kimi in the race situation, but you know, Kimi had a poor start or whatever. But still, he
took a new transmission, 5-place penalty at the start.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
qualified second.
Like right now, you can objectively say that Kimi has been outperforming Sebastian. So it's not working for him on the track, for Seb on track, and it's not working for him off track. And that seems to be clashing with the team. And then Arriva Bene said something else, Mike, that you didn't know. He said everybody. He basically like, because a lot of people seem to talk about this Ferrari family, right? Like, oh, when you go to Ferrari, it's like a family, right? And he was basically, like people talk about the Ferrari family, but no. I like to see it as a team.
Yeah,
we are a team.
Yeah,
and every single person in the team, including Sebastian Vettel, needs to earn their keep and needs to earn their salary.
It's a horse stable,
right? So them fighting words.
Yeah, totally.
Couple that, so then at the end of the race too, Vettel said publicly as well that it was his fault, the wrong strategy call that they had, that the whole tire strategy and holding himself back at the pits was like his decision, and like he was sorry about that. So there's some crazy shit going on right now at Ferrari.
Do you think that's like, okay, obviously there have been more problems for Ferrari outside of the drivers.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that is sort of, everyone can agree on that. Now, is it sort of one of these things where, like, you know, Vettel is obviously getting frustrated with whatever's happening with the car, and this in turn is like essentially creating like frustrations within the organization or the team or the family. Yeah. Right. So like, how do you fix that? How does a team like Ferrari go about handling that sort of a situation?
I don't know. I think Arriva Bene did his best right there, trying to lay the smack down.
Yeah.
Trying to verbally smack him down.
So maybe another question then we can ask it, like, and maybe this is on you guys because I don't know these drivers as well as you guys do, but is Vettel a good driver?
Well, nobody gets four drivers championship for no
championships.
reason.
Yeah, he's
right.
He's that finger, man. He's the number one.
So he's
in support. This is the only reason I'm writing my notes in a red pen this week. Sebastian Vettel.
Bullshit.
Yeah, no, I lost my black pen. Actually, my nephew took it. Yeah.
Vettel is a good driver, but he has.
He lost some of that mojo, though. He lost that finger power.
Yeah, until then
he had it, man. He had that. That was a real thing.
You know what he had?
Everybody hated him, like he was the Lewis.
You know what he had?
His streak.
You know what he had? He
had
finger. A good run, a very good run.
Yeah,
a good run that doesn't happen to anybody, and a good run that, of course, wasn't at all, or like, you know, in a great majority, it was influenced obviously by his skill and his prowess. But you could have said that
multi-21.
You could have said that up until 2013, Sebastian Vettel did not put a foot wrong, right? And this is what they kept saying. Like people kept
foot gas, left foot brakes. But he knew the difference between those pedals.
Even before that,
for sure.
Like in his career coming into F1, securing that like test, aligning himself with Red Bull. You know, you could have said that off and on the track, he didn't put a foot wrong. Like people were calling him like a robot. Like, is he even human? Right? Like, yeah, seriously, man. Yeah,
you could find some headlines if you look back.
Is he even human? He does not make any mistakes. Serious, man. So this is what people were saying about Vettel. For one, I remember I used to be calling bullshit on all.
Careful where you wave that finger.
But so and especially like at that age too, right? Like I'm saying that like age matters so much, but like, imagine being in your early 20s, being such at the top of the world, and it keeps happening too. It keeps it keeps going over and over, 4 years in a row, being at the top, fucking killing it, right? And then all of a sudden everything changes, and that was like very humbling. And it like really like knocked him down a peg. Right. And the first year when
he was like no Lewis Hamilton about it, was he?
No. He was like he actually like kind of like retreated a little bit, and then so this was the year that Danny Rick was his teammate in Red Bull, and Danny Rick actually outperformed him. Like he outqualified him and outscored him in the points.
We saw it the closest live in Canada.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that happened, and a lot of people were questioning, like, so what happened to him, right? What happened to him? Then it came out that he was gonna move to Ferrari, and then he was happy again. And his first year in Ferrari last year, remember, he was so into the team.
The team radios, he was like, "Oh, belle molto bene." He was like yelling out Italian beautiful words over the radio all the time. He was having a blast. I can't believe I'm driving a red car. This is amazing. Look, we're doing this together. This is my dream.
Family,
we did it. Yeah, La Familia Ferrari. Yeah. That was his whole. That didn't last very long though.
Well, it happened last year.
It lasted for a little while.
The expectation was that they were gonna come into this year, and it was gonna happen even more because Ferrari was gonna go even further. And Sergio Marchionne at the beginning of the year, the boss of Ferrari, right? He was talking a big game when he was saying like, "This 2016 engine that we have is the shit." Right? And
don't forget, Ferrari became a public company at the beginning of the season.
They had to say that. So this, and then eventually the results didn't come, and then the internal strife came, and it's all of a sudden like personally Sebastian Vettel went back to the kind of mood that he was at when he was in his last year in Red Bull, when he started to lose, when he started to be outqualified and outraced by his teammate, and all of a sudden people were like, I think he just doesn't really like it. And he really loses his cool when people bring up the topic that it's probably like a topic that followed him his entire Red Bull career, is that, are you really worthy of that championship, of those championships? Because people were saying like, is it you or is the car? Right. And that was back in like the heyday of Adrian Newey, who is this legendary car designer that has designed more Grand Prix winning cars or championship winning cars than any other designer out there. And he had a big part to play. He had a big part to play in all 4 cars that Vettel won his championship.
This is before the Sky era. It was the BBC, and every single weekend they didn't let you forget that this is down to the car, blah blah blah. They're constantly like, it can't be him, it can't be him, it's that that finger again.
But so this guy Adrian Newey wasn't so involved in Formula One. Actually, like just a side note, this year actually he decided to take a break and work on making this sailboat for the America's Cup. Anyway, but he has stated that he won.
But okay, cool.
He stated that he wants to come back to F1 now that the regulations are changing for 2017. So that a lot of people are shitting their pants because this guy's a big deal.
Whoever he starts designing for.
No, it's gonna be Red Bull. It'll be Red Bull. He still has like a contract with Red Bull.
Oh shit! Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's like Jesus of aerodynamics. Somehow he runs CAD software in his head and. He's a human wind tunnel.
What people say to make kind of fun of it is he can see the wind. Anyway.
Oh, I love him already. Yeah, that's great.
Speaking of lead aerodynamicists and technical people, Ferrari also at this point is in a very precarious situation. We've mentioned it before on the show because they've lost James Allison, Ferrari, when Arriva Bene came into the team, and like actually before that, but when these big changes after Luca de Montezemolo left, the previous Ferrari chairman, and all the big changes were happening in Ferrari, they like kind of build this strategy for the long term to bring back some wins with James Allison as a key player. James Allison at that point had been working for Team Lotus, which is today's Team Renault, in the championship in the couple of years when Kimi Räikkönen came back to the sport and won races in a car that shouldn't have been anywhere near the top in terms of like the money and
place.
Yeah, in terms of the money and resources they had. They had this one guy, James Allison, who was the technical guy in charge of making that car the Lotus, and then whatever, he was very successful, and he was basically like, people were saying Adrian Newey, then James Allison, because of his achievements.
Right.
And James Allison had a tie to Ferrari because he had previously, like way earlier in his career, when he was like just a lowly engineer, he had worked for Ferrari at one point, and then he went to another team and made his fortune somewhere else. But because he had the Ferrari connection, then Ferrari brought him back. Well, not only because of that, but I'm sure that helped. Ferrari brought him back.
They recognized his genius.
Yeah, and they like gave him a good contract, whatever. At some point in the middle of this, his wife dies, and it's a big deal. And then I guess apparently he got fired from Ferrari, and now Ferrari are in a situation where the team that they were building, right? Because you have to build a team with like around. Apparently that's just the way that they did it. They built a team around this person, and all of a sudden it was missing one of their key components, so it's not working. And what a lot of people say is that to rebuild a team in that way, especially a design team, because designing a car takes so long, if you're gonna bring a new lead designer, it's gonna wreck up your whole shit. It's what happened to them when they brought Allison himself. He was working with the designs of the previous guy, so he had because right now, anybody that comes in right now, or even anybody that comes in at the beginning of this year, is still like having to work with previous designs, because F1 designers, they work like 1 or 2 years out. Yeah. Right. So they right now they're working on 2018. Who knows?
Again, Ferrari said they have two separate teams working. They're not just working on the 17 and 18 car. They have two separate teams working on the 2017 and 18 cars. Yeah. And maybe they just do that to double or almost double their chances of getting some good ideas, right? Yeah. To get some good ideas for the 18 car, maybe they have time to
imagine what that looks
translate it down to the 2017.
Imagine if you go to Maranello, oh my god, right? And start to like,
they're probably not allowed to talk to each other.
To go into Gestione Sportiva, right? That's what Ferrari, like in the main headquarters there, the racing team, they call it Gestione Sportiva. I think it's called, like, I think if you translate it, it's sports management. Okay. The sports management division of Ferrari. If you go to Maranello,
oh my goodness,
and you enter Gestione Sportiva, the buildings, I'm sure it looks like a pretty chaotic place right now. People getting like, one day they were in this office, now they're being moved to that office because they got promoted. Somebody else got fired that was here last week. Plans are going around. Like, it's got to be a mess. And Sebastian Vettel, so you could have assumed that he would have seen that, and he would have seen that disorder that's going on in Ferrari and that kind of lack of direction, right? And decided to shine in a Schumacher-esque moment and rise up and start to build the team around him and show up to meetings and try to like give his input in some managerial decisions. And clearly it hasn't worked for him. No. The team doesn't want him to do that. The team wants him to focus, settle down, drive first of all, and then we'll let you in on these decisions that we made. But don't be trying to like boss anybody around.
So first we started off the show practicing our Sky impression. Now we're doing the RAI impression. This is the Italian media for Ferrari show. But yeah, no, he got some shit. And Raikkonen's sitting pretty.
Raikkonen's career all of a sudden, honestly, and like I remember,
he's super cool all day, man. Keeps his sunglasses on. He's being smiling for real. He's being smiling.
Remember at the beginning of the season, I was talking so much shit about Raikkonen having lost his mojo, having like
who's gonna be in his seat next? Like you thought it was open
yeah.
open for next year. No.
No.
It's turned around.
He's fully like gone back. He's gotten comfortable with the car, and I guess maybe now that he's had his wedding out of the way, his kids all popped out,
plopped a baby.
Yeah, then he guess he can go back to eating an ice cream and getting on with the job.
He
which is fucking
said
cool.
straight up, like, you know, when men have children, when women have children, something changes in your chemistry and your DNA and your hormones and all your feelings about life and what you're doing with it and how your career is going, and you straighten yourself out and you focus on your kid. He said straight up, no, my child doesn't affect my driving, don't worry. Something like this, something like that.
Do you think he's been listening to our show?
No.
But that's the kind of shit that we had been saying, right? Like we were saying that maybe because he had a kid or had one on the way. Like,
we said that when Rosberg had a baby, when Vettel had his baby, when everyone had a baby. Did it affect them?
Yeah, it kind of did.
For some of them, it did.
Yeah,
not for Raikkonen.
At least when it was leading up.
Raikkonen, it affected his driving in the best way. Apparently,
he
didn't break his transmission. He qualified second place this week.
That's true. Yeah.
He's in second place.
He's doing great, man. And I'm a Raikkonen fan. So
I don't dislike the guy. I wouldn't say I'm like jumping up and down on my couch when he does well, but I was like, when he does, I'm like, wow, it's good for him, man. Fuck yeah, like.
No, he's a good.
I give him like a 3 out of 5 on my care about scale. care about this driver scale. That's pretty high.
He's good, and it's good to see him at the top because he's always he's a character.
He's a character. He's a character. Yeah, he's funny, man. Somebody made I don't know if we talked about it or not. Somebody made a 10-hour remix of Bois, just Bois. There's 20 or 30 of them, and they just keep repeating the Bois.
And they're all his like Raikkonen's boss.
They're all Raikkonen's boss. It's on YouTube. It's a 10-hour video. The video's 10 hours long, and it's nothing but boss. The Bois remix. That's all it is.
No, but it's good to have him on front, and like he's got a lot of fans. Like remember that survey that happened last year at some point. It came out that he was the most popular driver in terms of popular appeal to people. Yeah, like more people like Kimi than
don't understand it, but yeah, good for him.
Worldwide, like probably all the Eastern Europeans, for sure, right? A bunch of Ferrari fans, probably half the Ferrari fans. You're cheering for him or Vettel, right?
Yeah.
Close to half the Ferrari fans. Probably all the Russians.
Well, I'd like to say that being a Ferrari fan is kind of a state of mind.
It's a belief system.
Yeah.
Like a higher power or something like that.
It transcends reality and true existence. It's just red. It's like doing your notes with this pen. It's just it doesn't mean anything really. I'm doing it on yellow paper with a red pen today, Oh my god! What happened?
I get what you're saying, man. Anyway, to bring it back to the whole Vettel thing and Arriva Bene, where it's just another indication that the team is not all there, and they're taking their problems and airing it out, externalizing them. I don't know if it's a good move, but it doesn't look like
calling out Vettel like that.
I don't. It doesn't.
No, man.
I don't know if it's gonna achieve what they want to achieve with that.
You're not gonna see him. You're not gonna see Arriva Bene doing any sort of Snapchat apologies this week, like Vettel, like Lewis did last week. He was emotional. He thought it was a conspiracy, whatever.
Yeah, no, but
you're not gonna see any apologies from Arriva Bene. He's gonna stick by that.
So what's the end of that? That's why some people are wondering. So what's the end game of like airing all this shit out and like putting this shit out in the open and putting it in the media? Are they like actually thinking right now that their best bet might be to cut him off and have him like.
Are they
have
settling
his
for
seat.
third? Can you put this just on the broadcast for a second? We put this back. Mercedes right now is sitting first place, 593 points.
Undisputed, yeah.
Red Bull 385 and Ferrari in third with 335. 50 points in the constructors championship
done.
is not a lot.
Yeah, it could be done.
Yeah, going first and second is 42 points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's every chance still for. But do you think they've given up? There's every chance for Ferrari to take Red Bull for second place this year, still. So like calling out Vettel, putting that pressure on him.
With the rest of the tracks though, I see it hard, and I see it hard for Ferrari. Might they'd have if they have enough luck, they'll be able to for sure.
U.S. is a high speed track. Brazil is a high power track.
Yeah, but look at what's happened.
Abu Dhabi's a medium one.
with Red Bull. Like the Red Bull aren't like you can't discount them.
No, man.
Yeah,
Of course not.
even in this track.
I think they got too much fire.
Who?
Red Bull. They got too much.
I love watching Red Bull as a
going
team.
for them.
Yeah.
I really do.
I love the whole like divisiveness that Max brings. I love that shit.
So good. Yeah.
Ricciardo's hilarious.
They're definitely making like for best team for the fans this year. Definitely Red
It's
Bull.
them. Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah,
have
man.
they have such a heavy rivalry. Danny Rick he's more of a vet. He's got more to prove, arguably than Max Verstappen does, because he's the older guy with the more experience. He's supposed to be outperforming him still, but this kid's coming in here. He didn't get reprimanded for that cutoff of Lewis and like the second last or last lap of that race there. We forced Lewis to go around the extra chicane.
He was apparently just on the limit, but just on the limit.
That's in the rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Ferrari can still take him. But yeah, Red Bull being kicking ass. They had a lull maybe last year, but since their 4 championships, they've been kicking ass.
And this is kind of what I wanted to hint at. Is
All that arguing of them quitting last year.
If Ferrari finishes third place instead of second, so let's say that they were not only aiming for but had accounted for a
Finishing
second
third?
place, and if they're all of a sudden looking at third place instead of second place, that's a chunk of millions. That's tens of millions that they're not gonna get from FOM, and if they were accounting on those tens of millions to offset Vettel's paycheck, then maybe that's what Arriva Ben is saying. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what? We were thinking that we were gonna do better with you, but since it's not, like,
This is clearly your fault.
well, like, from an accountant's perspective, you could justify it.
I don't feel
Sure.
like looking it up again because it's a lot of money or whatever. But we looked this up a couple weeks ago. Vettel's salary is in the top 50 athletes in the world. He's up there somewhere, 30-something million euro he's earning to drive that Ferrari, right?
Right? Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's a lot of money.
If the difference in between finishing second and third is 30 million euros,
You can buy my whole
then it
neighborhood.
starts to make sense, though.
You could buy every house in my neighborhood.
No, but don't you think though? Like, then it starts to make sense.
Yeah,
What,
that does.
the-
I hadn't
these-
thought of that.
These words that Arriva Bene is saying.
Yeah, you gotta earn that $30 million please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because he hasn't been doing these Snapchats himself. He hasn't been getting on the social.
That's the
He
other
doesn't
thing.
even have a Facebook account, Instagram account,
Well, and
Snapchat account,
and that-
Facebook account.
and that's
he
what-
doesn't do
that's
any
the one thing
YouTube bullshit.
Remember when he was winning and whatever, and Bernie said that Vettel wasn't as good a champion as Hamilton is because Hamilton is more commercial. Vettel, he appreciates, like, from the get-go, he's always being very secretive about his private life. He doesn't want to be like annoyed. He doesn't want to he doesn't do social media. He doesn't do Twitter. He doesn't do anything else, right?
What do you think he does? He goes
Just-
out
he
for a
just-
nice dinner,
Yeah, he just
chill and watch a
lives,
movie, and
right? Like, he just hangs out.
reads a book and goes to bed.
He hangs out, right? Yeah.
Hit the gym, go to bed, and
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah, play with his 2 daughters or something, whatever. Yeah.
play with his kids.
Yeah, right. Like he wants to keep that aspect of his life as private as possible. And who can blame him?
At the end of the day, I don't really care. To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't actually.
No,
I don't
yeah.
actually care.
Who can blame him? But
What he does.
in terms of being more commercially appealable, appealing. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be the drivers like Lewis that bring in the more of a commercial value with themselves to any team.
Yeah.
Whereas like Vettel is just with having Vettel as a team could be seen as a straight up expense.
Yeah.
Having Lewis could you could turn him into an asset.
Oh yeah.
You can have him to be a promoter of the brand, and he is doing that already for Mercedes very successfully. That's probably why he's getting 100 million because they probably think that
It's like,
part of those millions are gonna return back to them in terms of exposure that he's giving them.
Oh, I was telling Jay about this, but I watched Zoolander 2 with Lewis Hamilton in it, and I was telling him it was like, oh yeah, I was telling Felicity, my girlfriend, I was like, yo, that's Lewis Hamilton. She's like, Lewis. Like,
Who's that?
Hamilton?
Yeah,
Who is
Hamilton. But yeah, he was there, but I didn't recognize anyone else that he was there with. Like he was like the only celebrity in it, and so like he just didn't really make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I vaguely remember that movie. It wasn't very good, right?
It was okay.
It was okay, right? But
I laughed. But
You watched
I
Under
laughed.
2 too?
I saw it, yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I saw it, whatever, a bunch of weeks back. But yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing for what it was. For what it should have been. But yeah, it was funny, you know.
Sorry,
What was that?
Sorry, guys.
That
I
was
don't know what the fuck that
Dramatic 2 seconds there. So how about testing? It's been a little contentious for tires
Where they're gonna go?
for next year.
Yeah, where they're going. But okay,
Yeah.
okay, hang on. Can somebody explain to me what's going on with this Pirelli? So I know that we talked about it before, but so Pirelli is picking all of the tire allocations for the first 5 races next year
Yes.
because they want uniformity. Because so they're saying that they're doing that for safety. Number one.
Partly,
not
yeah.
doing it. They're
This
not
is the
doing it.
biggest tire change there's been in maybe almost 2 decades. The biggest single year drastic change. Way fatter tires, different compound, different composition,
Different loads that are going to be applied on them.
way bigger loads. Yeah, the whole aerodynamic load that's going to be put on top.
So the tests, for example, for right now, so I think this is what I heard somewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the tests like up until now or up until recently had been on the construction of the tire as opposed to the compound. But next year, the deal is that the compound itself is also going to be different. So that's why there's a difference.
I think slightly though, like the difference like there was this year, where they like this for this year compared to last year, they're the same compounds, but they're shifted sort of one step.
Okay.
Whereas they went one step over.
Mm-hmm.
And so like one became the next. Whereas next year, I think they're still kind of secretive about it. They haven't really said exactly.
Yeah, but I think that's what they're hinting at. It's like, so what Pirelli's saying is that because they're going to be so drastically different,
The load specifically is going to be so drastically different.
So I guess here's what would happen, or what has been happening is that Pirelli's like, okay, we got to test the tires. Teams are like, okay, well, the last time that we went to test your tires, it cost us this much. Why is it going to be so much more expensive next year? Why does it have to be in Bahrain? Why can't it be in Spain or whatever? And then they're saying no, next year, it's different because the tires don't only have to be different in the construction, i.e. how much material do you put on the sidewalls to absorb the shock. No, they're going to be different. All of it is going to be
completely different
Yeah.
dimension,
Yeah.
different composition, different rubber, different steel inside, different materials. But what had been planned was the same as last year. Going to Spain, same track, same number of days, same number of sessions, exactly the same.
You know why that is, right?
Money.
Well, but
For
also
the most part for money.
But also, apparently, it's written in the rules that the preseason tire the tests cannot be held outside of Europe.
Right. But they've done
exactly.
They've done Bahrain testing before in recent years.
Yeah. If everybody voted on it, or if there's like safety grounds.
For safety grounds.
Yeah.
So Pirelli, making a huge tire change, has been the ones that asked to go to Bahrain, because at that time of year, this will be in February, which is like, it's almost the same as Toronto. It's a bit warmer. They're a bit further south in here.
Who is?
Spain, the Barcelona track.
Yeah,
it's a bit further south,
yes,
but it's it's winter there. It's gonna be like in the low Celsius's positive degrees maybe.
It's good. Even if it's 14 degrees, it's not gonna be representative.
There's not gonna be the only race that came close this year, I think, was Russia. It was a bit cold. Like it was like 16 or 15
back in the day
Celsius.
when they had it at the Nürburgring, the German Grand Prix got kind of cold, but it got cold like 18 degrees.
Yeah, which is cold in terms of F1 for the tires.
Yeah,
but what Pirelli's been requesting is at least one of the 2 tire testing sessions be taken to Bahrain, because it's warm there. They're close to the equator, and it's more representative of the average track and air temperatures at all the races. And we should be testing these tires according to them in representative conditions. And from last weekend, they had a special meeting. Apparently, doing one test 1 week in Spain and 1 week in Bahrain was not even on the table. But the idea has been floated of having a simultaneous test, because some teams like Williams, Force India, Manor, Haas have said, we don't really have the money, or we don't want to spend the money because it's going to cost hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to ship cars, our drivers, all the mechanics, and
actually, you know what's funny? So let me just interrupt for a second, because just on that one point, it was just so funny to hear Pat Simmons from Williams saying that he was basically saying, like, you know what? It's going to cost us $300,000 to do this test. We do it if we have to do it, but we'd really rather not. Like, and that's the attitude of the teams.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But apparently the one-on-one is not on the table, but they've discussed having a simultaneous test, whereas the teams that want to go to Bahrain are welcome to do so. The track will be open for the same amount of time that the Barcelona track will be open. And if you prefer to stay in Spain, to stay in Europe, you may go there and test. And I guess in that case, some of the data would have to be open. You would have to possibly share because it's new.
Mm-hmm. But all of data collected would have to be open. That's the whole point.
Tire data,
specifically. Tire data. Yeah.
But as you said, that for the first 5 races, and we still haven't even confirmed if Pirelli's going to be having 5 or 6 compounds, dry compounds for next year. They might be 6. But that Pirelli's going to choose the 3 for the first 5 races for each team, and the numbers of each. And everyone's going to be learning. This way, the competition is a little more even because of it being such a big change. The loads being so drastic, etc., etc. But during the post-race Ted's notebook, if any of you saw this, Ted dropped a rumor that he had heard some whispers, some whispers from the paddock from Japan, from the meetings, that perhaps there might even be an opportunity to go testing in Qatar.
But that's okay. So this has been floated for a while because Qatar really wants.
Qatar really wants to show the race. Yeah, they want to hold the race. Right.
But there's a whole problem. Like I have to speak categorically on this. I have to really
I believe their circuit's not grade 1,
but
grade 1.
Oh no, it's motorcycles. Right now, Qatar has a competent.
GP2 is held there
as well as motorcycles. Qatar.
Or sorry, MotoGP. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, they have a GP2 track.
God damn it, Sapporo.
But yeah, it's not.
Right.
It's not designed for cars yet, or it can be modified though. But Qatar is in such a position that they might just choose to have the circuit, even a different circuit or an extension to the main, an actual altering the layout of the circuit right now to fit cars.
To fit F1
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
It's the Losail circuit.
Well,
Is the name.
but okay, so
yeah.
Mike, you gotta understand, these are Gulf countries that have a ton of money. Like Qatar doesn't have a little bit of money. They have a lot of money. Like everybody.
Oil money too. It's about burning gas.
Yeah, no, it's
pull up a picture. The Losail circuit.
It's
it's a
like
legit circuit.
Ridiculous amount of money that like we couldn't understand. Like Qatar is a country that has like, if you're a Qatari, and now getting a Qatari citizenship is retardedly difficult, but if you're a Qatari, you're at this point like you're set for life. You have free university, free education, free this, free that, and there's just so many opportunities to like cash in on that petrol money that you're basically guaranteed to be rich.
Look at this facility.
Every Qatari out there, like they have the same standard of living and like pretty much the same GDP per person as countries like Norway. You know, like these are people that are living well, right? Mm-hmm. And they're living well because of the oil wealth. The problem is that the royal family of Qatar, or whatever it is, like whatever their main person, I don't know, it's a royal family. So the royal family of Qatar is not the same kind of Muslim as the royal family of Bahrain.
Oh shit.
And because they're different kinds of Muslims, they hate each other. So the Bahrainis have forever been like, they've been saying like, in my part, and they're kind of close. The countries are, albeit these are very tiny ass countries.
Yeah.
But the two countries are kind of on the same side of the Gulf.
Yeah.
And Bahrain has basically said before, or like, you know, whatever the Bahrainis have said before, that if we're hosting a Grand Prix over here, Qatar can't host it.
It's the whole Shia Sunni thing.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I don't even know the whole thing. I shouldn't misspeak really, but some of it is like the one half believes that Muhammad was like the one true prophet.
They all
then
believe,
the Sunnis believe that when he died, that the power was passed on to his nephew or something like that.
Okay, so yeah, we're getting into
let's
really tricky grounds here. No, I think it's got to do with the followers. No.
Kind of
they all think so. All of Islam is Muslim. Muhammad was the true prophet. The Shia and the Sunni split has mostly to do with the official successors, kind of like whoever took charge after
he died.
Yeah, then it went to either this people that the Sunnis decided to follow, or the Shia decided to follow this other people.
Yeah. Anyways, race cars go really fast. Race cars go vroom vroom really fast.
But that's the whole thing, right? Like, if it was, and here's something that I guess what I was trying to say is that if it was just about the money, if straight up having money to host it, Qatar, of course they have the money. There's no problem there at all. Bahrain, of course they have the money too. No problem there either. It's just that Qatar hasn't been able to, because Bahrain, since they moved in, they made the Bernie deal way earlier. They kind of have that precedent, and it's kind of being pitting them right now in a position where they keep saying they keep having this obstinate decision that they won't allow Qatar to host a Grand Prix or to host any kind of significant event there in the World Championship, because they have to have the kind of monopoly to host it in that region, because of that weird ethnic strife. They have to be that.
I know. I think we'll probably find out by the next race where the testing is going to be held. They have to work it out really soon, because they're going to have to start planning their logistics and when the car needs to be ready by, and how fast they have to ship it, and how far, and who's going to work overtime and go there, test the tires, blah, blah, blah. But speaking of...
Ivan Pacheco, by the way, it says that there have been GP2 Asia races in Qatar, and that's also what I thought too. I had heard that somewhere.
We mentioned it on this show. There's been rumors of Qatar vying for a spot on the F1 calendar.
Oh yeah,
they want it
to actually. Yeah, they want a Qatari championship.
But I think, as far as I know, they still only have the grade 2 designation for the circuit for safety.
Yeah, they'll have to like really like they have to work on the circuit, but
on
it's not that they can't. That's what I'm saying. They know they have them.
Oh, yeah.
They can do it like this.
Yeah, they can call up Jarno Zifeli.
Just bring. Yeah.
Hire Dromo for a few weeks and
Yeah. Have
get
Jarno.
they'll get that sorted out.
Give
No
Jarno
problem.
a call.
They'll get that
Call,
sorted.
call us actually. The Qataris call us and we'll put you in touch with Jarno, our buddy.
Where's Mike? I'm gonna pee my pants. Anyways, on the topic of traveling between Europe, the Middle East, Muslim countries, Grand Prix, etc., the European Grand Prix has been announced.
No.
Azerbaijan will be changing its name to the Azerbaijani Grand Prix or the Grand Prix of Azerbaijan.
Azeri Grand Prix?
The Azeri Grand Prix. One of those three.
No, I think it's Grand Prix of Azerbaijan or something like that. Or Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijani Grand Prix. One of those. It's not the European Grand Prix ever again.
So they actually like took a good hard look. They kind of like they must have you can't help but imagine how that meeting would have gone.
Yeah.
You know, somebody would have probably just like on a giant screen or a projector, like being like, guys, come here, guys. All right, and then loaded Google Maps. I look, yeah. Let's do this. Let's replicate what must have happened in this meeting, Mike. If you could only type.
Yeah, well, you know.
PS. So they loaded up Google Maps, much like this, right? Is this on the screen?
Yeah.
And then looked up Baku, Azerbaijan. And then but it shows it to you all zoomed in, so I can see how at first, Mike, if they were just going by this picture, they might have not realized that they weren't in Europe. But somebody maybe went and like called them, guys, wait, just watch this. Watch what happens when I zoom out, right? And they keep zooming out. And all of a sudden, you see,
Oh no!
Yeah. Right? Oh, Europe is over here.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
So they had a bit of an identity crisis. Now they realize that they are a different country and in a different continent, in a different part of the world with different cultural backgrounds. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. Why wouldn't you, Danny? Why wouldn't you be, if you were an Azeri? Why wouldn't you be proud to? I mean, I there might be some shit that like you wouldn't be proud of, but I think that anybody in any country like probably has some sort of like national pride. It just sort of comes with the territory. Yeah.
Of course.
So why wouldn't you have done this from the very beginning? I know they were doing it. Obviously, like we're being facetious here. They were doing it to get like some press coverage and whatever, and like bring all that attention and like we're Europe. But I feel like
to be fair, it was a bit of negative coverage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like
there
would
were
have
some
gotten,
problems.
I feel like they would have just gotten a lot better experience and a lot better return on their. I don't want to use that stupid term, but the return on their investment in terms of positive positive image,
national pride.
If they had just said the Azerbaijan Grand Prix from the get go.
Yeah. Because that's what it was. Everyone knew that's what it was. It's not Europe. It's more, I don't know. I don't know. They shouldn't have done that.
He's a boy. Do we have any more news from any other tracks? Like, have you heard about anything else that's been kind of spiking? What you're the one with the track news always.
No, track news. I think that's it. That's all it came up. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised that there's not a lot of more like quote unquote like huge news for this time of year, for this time of the season of the competition. But that's pretty much what I got. We mentioned last week Jorge Lorenzo, the current MotoGP world champion, got to drive Lewis's W05 at Silverstone. He worked himself up. We talked about it last week anyway. He drove, I think, a FP2 car and something else to like work up his speed and get confident in the race car. They did not release any of his lap times, but they were competitive.
Oh,
According to the article, they were competitive. Whatever. But anyways, he said the grip, everything is insane. The speed you take through the apex compared to the bike is insane. He said, I really don't think you can go the other way. I don't think you can really to go from the F1 car to the bikes. Those guys have balls on the bikes. Like, you're not going to see Lewis Hamilton. You know what I mean? Like, this MotoGP world champion drove on Silverstone Lewis Hamilton's world championship winning Mercedes F1 car.
Albeit with some... Listen, I looked a little bit.
It wasn't
into that.
turned up to. It wasn't turned up to 11 on qualifying mode and all this.
He also had that semi-automatic mode on. It wasn't like he was doing the.
He wasn't doing the downshifts.
Yeah.
They don't let him do the downshifts because if you shift too early, then the transmission explodes. But whatever. He got to drive it. He drove that car, and you are not going to see Lewis Hamilton on his Yamaha going over 300 anywhere ever. You're
fair.
not. You're not going to see that. It's fair, right?
No, yeah, but there's other reasons for that, and I think that like the things like just plain good old boring insurance, a fucking caveat of
because it's dangerous as hell. It's way harder to drive those bikes than an F1 car.
Yeah, but if say, and this is, and I know this is fucking a tired old argument, but if James Hunt had been in that position and he had been offered do a seat swap with the
with a cigarette on each side of his mouth.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he do it without a helmet, right? Yeah,
it's the soft era that we live in. I love to point out how soft everyone is.
Yeah, but
in this era.
But
compared to the past.
But
real, man.
Even if Lewis wanted, he like somebody in a suit, if somebody like with a very 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 great tone to their voice,
not gonna let him ride
would
that
have
bike.
said like, I'm sorry, no. we made the adjustments to this. We've like calculated the percentage risk.
The bike's too fast, man. The bike's too fast. You can't drive it. You're not allowed.
He's just not gonna do it. Right? So
yeah.
And all of this does make you wonder.
Yeah, I'm sure Lewis wants to. I'm sure like Vettel or Rosberg or Raikkonen and
especially
guys,
Raikkonen.
I'm sure most of those guys want to ride the bike.
Or like have a little soiree out there. At least try to ride it,
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's got that to do, man. And I wanted to bring back a point about all of this, like with tying back to this whole like fucking media storm that Lewis has been getting.
Yeah.
With that, the softness of people, it just seems like a lot of what's going on right now is like people are just having a hard time trying to figure out like what is Formula One? What does it mean to be Formula One? Mark Hughes, he's one of the big old school writers from Motorsport magazine, like a big trusted name in the sport. He wrote before the Japanese Grand Prix actually an article basically saying that F1, and this was referring to that I think he opened with the fact that Germany has basically they're starting to consider the motion that to ban sales of internal combustion engine powered vehicles by 2030, right? So what does that mean to the sport? Well, obviously it doesn't mean nothing because at Mercedes, like kind of right around when that happened, Mercedes like a couple days before announced that they were gonna be investing into getting a Formula E team running. So they can clearly see that the shift that the world might eventually take, and this could happen very quickly. Is that people in Western countries or even non-Western countries, especially with the push that say countries like India are giving towards solar. That India has like aligned themselves to basically said that by the same date, by 2030, all of their electricity is going to come from solar. Right, that's what they've said. Right, so
it's just too reasonable to do
the opposite.
And let me correct. They haven't considered this, the Federal Council of Germany has passed the resolution
to talk about it.
No, by 2030 there is a ban on new internal combustion powered vehicles in Germany. It's passed.
Now, probably it won't affect things like race cars. You can probably go and buy like a gas powered race car to take to the track. In the same way that you can still just go out of your way and buy a horse, but nobody's going and riding their horses to work anymore.
Right.
No.
Like there's gonna be that niche, and this is when a lot of people like say like, oh, things like the electric car and the self-driving car are going to replace, are going to diminish the need or like diminish the popularity of something like Formula One. It doesn't necessarily have to be so, because we still have horse races, and there's quite a following for that. Well, that hasn't disappeared, right?
It's just not as popular as it used to be when everyone rode horses.
You will hear the counter argument though that horses have not yet been banned,
and also another counter argument to that is that chariot races, for example, are not as popular either, right? So
they've also not been banned. Electric or gas powered cars have been banned in Germany, and also the Federal Council straight after that went right to the EU and asked for this to be considered across the entire EU for the same rule.
Across the union, yeah. So here's what Mark Hughes has to say to that. Then he goes on to that other old and tried argument that, okay, well, then maybe if everything is going electric and the actual, people are going to be driving not only electric cars but electric self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's going to be the future, and transportation is going to look a completely different way. Then F1 should go full the opposite direction of that and look to the past and say, let's have the most ridiculous, outrageous gas, like internal combustion engines, with maybe a little bit of hybrid bits there that just kind of do what they're
some of the green bits.
Well, I think he says something like they just do what they're required to do, but nothing more than that.
Right.
So just throw in a couple green bits and just let it all out with the high noise and the high power and like just screaming engines. And whereas I sympathize with that feeling, because it is such an easy argument to make. Because when you look at the golden days of F1, right? Like when you look at like, oh, when was F1 the shit?
Yeah.
And a lot of people that have been watching for a lot of the time would say that right now F1 is not the shit. I don't know if I agree with that, but people that have been watching and participating in the sport, especially for a long time, have said, will say F1 hasn't been the shit for a while. It was the shit back then. And back then, what did we have? Oh, we have the loud engines, and people were like impressed, and they like show that video clip online of the kid like losing his mind when the MotoGP motorcycles are coming by because they're so loud, and they're like, we need this kind of excitement, we need it to be like this again in F1, right? That's what they say. All right. What I think that they're failing to see is that you cannot look back and expect like the past to like fully dictate your future. You can't go back and try to rewrite the past, because number one, people can't unlearn what they've already learned in terms of things like aerodynamics and the use of hybrid technologies. Like engineers will always find a way.
Yeah. But
also it may just be that these people out there that are like looking back at the good old days might not be looking at exactly what it is that was good about those days. And I want to say that what was good about those days wasn't the fact that we had big, enormous engines roaring all the time. If you want to like say like, go back to like the Villeneuve days.
Yeah.
Like Gilles Villeneuve. It's not that you had like these enormous engines roaring all the time. It's that there was a variety. And on the same field, you had a flat 12 cylinder engine at the same point with a V8 turbo engine, and you had another at one point I think
It was
somebody
more like a Wacky Racers sort of TV show sort of thing where there's a whole bunch of different kinds of cars and all sort of competing.
and the cars look different, and because they were different approaches. And I think again for the I don't know how many times we can say this in this show, man. The solution is not to look at the past and say we need this type of engine from the past. Yeah, what we need more is more openness in the formula, because if they had a truly open formula, at least when it came to engines, and like we've devised here a scenario where, let's say, instead of talking about we need to have like a V6 and internal combustion engine together with in exactly these specs, this many liters, instead of saying that, like describing with this kind of curves, with this kind of or thermal recovery with this with one turbo, instead of like clamping it down like that, if they just open it and said, listen, we need to have like some sort of way to power your car that's gonna have at least this much thermal efficiency to it, and then after that you do whatever the fuck you want with it, then we'd see all kinds of shit, all kinds of crap, like say a group of teams going for the big giant internal combustion loud machine, but then another team, let's say at the same time on the same field, with a completely electrical engine that will be just as quiet as a Formula E engine, let's say, and still battling it out. Wouldn't that be great? And let's say,
that actually would be a lot of that'd be really entertaining.
Let's expand it forward, and let's say that eventually either the hybrids, the hybrids or fully electric engines, somehow, let's say that is the way of the future, and they start to win consistently. I guarantee you that at that point, anybody that's watching on both the stands and television, whereas they'll appreciate the noise and the mess and the rattle that the big combustion engines will be making, they probably be like, you know what? Maybe there is something to this new electric stuff. Maybe like if they can win over like a petrol engine, like why not? Why not? Why don't we start considering this?
Yeah.
And that would be a more organic transition than all of a sudden just like imposing, starting from 2025, F1 is going to be all electric engines with just a little bit of petrol.
Yeah. Like what is that?
I think people are losing sight of what's important in all this mess. Like, and what's important there needs to be an honest and open conversation of what does it mean to be the pinnacle of motorsports.
Yeah.
What can you call, like, what can you say? Because right now, like, based on that argument that you had, Danny, alone, you could be, if you were a MotoGP fan, you could say, you know what, a rider from MotoGP just went and did a few laps in an F1 car, and he clocked in like a couple good laps, and because the F1 guy didn't go the other way, you can say, you know what, then MotoGP is the better motorsport. Then it's more of a pinnacle, because you can't say whether or not the other person it could have fared well.
Who can make the fastest car? Who cares how it's powered?
Yeah.
Who can make the fastest car?
Yeah. So right. So does pinnacle of motorsport mean fastest cars? If it does, which I think is a very strong argument for it, I think the pinnacle of motorsport, whatever that is, should have the fastest cars.
Seems logical.
Right.
Yeah.
Then why not just go for that?
Yeah.
Go for like ultimate speed, and then make everything else aligned to it, rather than try to constrain it and then eventually like come up with cars that like artificially create cars that will be 5 seconds quicker with these bigger wings and other stuff, bigger tires and all that.
It's an interesting.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Janet?
Being
awfully quiet there, bud.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to 2017 for now.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to the end of this year too.
Yeah.
That's gonna be that, guys. I don't think I was so happy on Sunday because we have a championship that's gonna go till the end.
Fourth and fifth is gonna go to the end for sure. First and second, fourth and fifth constructors is gonna go to the end. At least first and second drivers is gonna go down to the end.
Third and fourth, even maybe
Third, fourth,
maybe
fifth,
second and third in the championship.
Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. I don't know.
We have a championship like up until the first two spots, man. You can't tell me right now. Remember when you were saying, "Oh, Lewis has this." There's no way that Lewis doesn't have this.
It seemed like it a few months ago.
Yeah.
When it swung back the other way.
Yeah, that's what I mean, man.
Yeah.
So
It's not over till it's over.
yeah. Definitely a good.
I think this is over.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Because it's over. Until it's over.
We'll be back next week with U.S. Grand Prix preview, and we will be hosting the U.S. Grand Prix at Betty's
Live!
Ooh, yeah, we're live. That's
Yeah, we're gonna
sick.
be live. Yeah.
All right, guys.
See you later, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Ciao.